So here we are, people, the worst of the worst. These are the worst Adam Sandler films that I've seen that I personally dislike. One of them I absolutely hate. Now, if you haven't seen my best of Adam Sandler list, then let me explain something really quick. First off, I'm not including every single movie that Adam Sandler has been in. I have a certain category. In order to be an Adam Sandler film, Adam Sandler had to have the starring role in the film. And also, he had to have been a big part in either the screenwriting or the producing, because ultimately those are what some people consider Adam Sandler films. So if you haven't seen my best of, then quickly, here is the 20 films that I am accepting as Adam Sandler films. Okay, so we're ready? Good. Here are the worst 5 Adam Sandler films. So number 5 is a pretty recent Adam Sandler film, only came out a few years ago, and it felt like he was trying to get back to the glory days of Adam Sandler films, but instead it missed its mark completely and was a little too raunchy for my taste, and that is That's My Boy. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I did enjoy certain parts of this movie, and I remember enjoying some of it, but ultimately, I don't really remember much of That's My Boy at all, other than Adam Sandler was in it, Andy Samberg was in it as his kid, he had sex with a teacher when he was a kid, there was this big stripper lady, and Vanilla Ice was in it. That's all I remember. Number 4 has some of the same problems that That's My Boy has. I remember enjoying parts of it, but in all honesty, when I try to think back of what I liked about it, I can't remember anything in the film. I absolutely can't remember anything in it, and that is Just Go With It. No, scratch that. I remember one scene. The only scene when I try to think of Just Go With It, the only one that comes to mind is when Nick Swanson is trying to bring back a goat to life, or doing CPR or something to a goat or some animal. I can't even remember what the animal was. Maybe it wasn't even a goat at all. I don't remember. So number 3 was a sequel we did not need, and a lot of people back it up. A lot of people back up the first one and say, oh, it's one of the better Adam Sandler movies there is, but I completely disagree. Number 3 is Grown Ups 2. You knew it was coming. The only reason it's number 3 is because there are some things in it that I really enjoyed, and that was towards the last act of the film. I liked the fight scene that happened. I liked some of the side plots, like David Spade and his son. And I did enjoy all the frat boy scenes. Other than that, I absolutely hated the rest of the film. And that's why it gets a lower score than Just Go With It and That's My Boy. Because at least I remember having some sort of good time throughout the movie. I just don't remember the movies. So Grown Ups 2 is easily my number 3 worst film of Adam Sandler. As bad as number 2 was, I think number 1 was more disappointing and more bland and average. So I have to give number 2 to Grown Ups. And that's all I'm going to say about it. Now, where all these other movies I've just stated would get at least 1 star or higher, I think the number 5 and number 4 are 2-star movies for me. This movie is the only Adam Sandler movie that I've come across that I give absolute 0 to. And that, my friends, is Jack and Jill. Oh my God. I had no intention of ever seeing this movie, but then I ended up seeing it. And that is because one of these days I wanted to make a best of and worst of Adam Sandler movies. And when I saw that this movie was considered a Adam Sandler movie in my qualifications that I stated at the beginning of this film, then I guess I had to go see it. Because it was the only one on this list I had not seen. And I had someone that is at my work that really enjoyed Jack and Jill. And when I said the reasons I didn't want to see it at all and how terrible it looked and how I saw tons of reviews that pretty much gave away the whole movie, I knew I was going to dislike it. And she's like, no, you got to see it. You can't judge a movie without seeing it. And that's something that I usually say to tons of other people. So I was like, all right, even though I feel like I've already seen this movie because of reviews going into great detail of the film, I still went to see it. I still saw it anyway, saw it for free, watched it one night before Pixels, and maybe that's why I like Pixels so much. It's because I saw frickin' Jack and Jill right before it. Jack and Jill, you're an abomination to films. Did not laugh a single point in this movie. And all those other bad Adam Sandler movies, at least I can find something to laugh about. Whether one scene, one line of dialogue, something. Jack and Jill had absolutely nothing. I just watched the movie, just sitting there like this. Not many films can do that for me. Usually I try to look at the good things in movies. Usually I can find at least something redeemable to a movie. That's why I don't have that many 0-star movies. Like even frickin' Hot Tub Time Machine 2 had something good in it. It had one scene where there was a few one-liners that I actually chuckled at or just gave a single ha to. Jack and Jill had nothing. Nothing! And when I watched it, know what it reminded me of? The worst film I've seen so far this year. Yeah. It reminded me of that. Because this is why. There's one scene in Jack and Jill. I'm being totally honest here. There's one scene in Jack and Jill where I probably could have found it amusing. I might have laughed. It actually has a punchline and a setup to it. And that is the scene where Al Pacino is on stage and his cell phone rings. He answers it, and he puts off the stage, he puts off the show, and he just talks because he's infatuated with Jill and wants to talk to her. And so then the audience eggs him on, and he's just like clapping for him. And then once he's done, he just goes right back into scene where he left off in the Shakespeare play. It could have been amusing. It actually has something in it where I could have laughed at. But just like Hot Pursuit, I had to sit through roughly 50 minutes of not laughing, 50 minutes of non-jokes, 50 minutes of absolute crap, 50 minutes of annoying characters, 50 minutes of hating life. And because of those 50 minutes, I couldn't find that scene amusing in the slightest, and I couldn't find myself laughing at all. Great job, Jack and Jill. You get 0. And you are the worst Adam Sandler movie I have ever seen, even if I consider some of the more serious roles and the roles where he simply acted in. There's a movie where he's some sort of deckhand or something. I remember seeing it, and I remember hating that movie. Jack and Jill, far worse. Alright, so those are my 5 worst Adam Sandler films of all time. What did you think? What is the worst Adam Sandler movies that you have ever seen and will never want to see again and made you hate life? Is Jack and Jill? I hope it is, because it deserves it. But as always, this is Bruce Gifford, and this was Just My Opinion.